Hi, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Kam.
Welcome to our home. Come on in. Hi, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Kam.
And we're from the LKS address. Welcome to our home. Today we're walking you through the full transformation of our 90s home that we DIY'd, renovated from start to finish.
4 years ago, we bought this untouched 90s home with the intention of DIY renovating it room by room.
From the beginning, our goal has been to create spaces that balance practicality and style. We wanted rooms that function beautifully for our everyday life, but feel layered and elevated. So this is our home library. This started out as our living room, which was unused when we moved into the house. We didn't really need a living room. We weren't going to use it. So it sat empty for a couple years until we really figured out how we wanted to use it. So we ended up deciding to change it into a library. We created two zones. We've got a vaulted ceiling when you enter, and then we have a lower ceiling, which we chose to create the bookshelves in this area to kind of define the space where the bookcases live. We love how it turned out. We actually used IKEA bookcases to create the library, and then we customized it and added a face frame, custom doors with a metal grill. We finished it off with picture lights to create the vibe for the room. And then on the other side of the room, we wanted to create a seating area in the vaulted space. Here we have a Facebook Marketplace marble table find, and then we chose to accentuate the height using these custom curtains, which match the color drenching of the space, but they add a subtle pattern to break up the big wall, which is nice.
When it comes to spaces like this, it's just the sheer amount of time that it takes to complete a project from start to finish. This room literally had blue carpet, all kinds of different colored walls, so just demoing it initially took a lot of time, but it's always worth it in the end, so we never have any regrets.
Now we're gonna head into our dining room. The dining room, we see it as a transition between the library and the kitchen. So for color palette, we went from dark, medium to light. So this is a medium tone room. We went with a two-tone color scheme. We wanted to add architectural interest, so we added wainscoting and chair rail around the room, but then we decided to do a two-tone paint color. We did the light pink color on the top and the darker pink color on the bottom, just to add a little bit of interest. And then we also used the dark paint color to accentuate our tray ceiling. We had this tray ceiling when we moved in, and we wanted to make sure that it popped since it's a nice feature in the room. So we painted it that dark color. We added a ceiling medallion because we love traditional touches. And then we used the curtains in here to help soften everything up. The curtains pair well nicely with the lighter color, and they've got a little bit of texture to them to just create a layered feel in the dining room, which we really like.
And actually, funny enough, there was actually a chair rail here already, but we did not have the box trim. So we ended up adding a chair rail back in. This one has a little bit more detail. And then we really just love box trim, which you'll see in some of the other spaces throughout. It just adds a really touch, which we kind of like to mix in with traditional modern features. So that was kind of like our vision, was just continue that modern, traditional vibe that we have throughout the house.
And we wanted to create a dining room that felt formal, but not too formal to where we'd actually use it. We don't want this to be a space that we only eat in once a year in the holidays. So we try to utilize this at least once a week and made it casual enough so it can feel comfortable for weekly dining.
And now from the dining room, we're gonna head straight into the kitchen, which is definitely the heart of our house.
We cook about 95% of our meals at home, so the kitchen was a huge priority for us, and it was the first space we took on as a big renovation in our home because we needed the kitchen to function because we love to use it. So we completely started from scratch in here. We ripped out all of the existing cabinets. So one of the first things we knew we wanted to do was to expand the size of the island so we could have an island that not only had storage, but also had lots of seating. And then we wanted to take the opportunity to create more of a statement here at the stove. So we installed this oversized range hood. We finished it off with plaster and this nice brass trim. And then over here on the other side of the kitchen, this was originally very underutilized. So we decided to create a whole storage wall here. We did countertop cabinets and drawers. This is our pantry space, which functions really nice for us. And then we have another floor to ceiling cabinet over here, and this captures all of our appliances. Let's head into our family room. This is one of the rooms where we also spend a lot of our time. We spend every single night in here. This room was also a complete overhaul. It had a brick fireplace originally, and Kam and I actually framed out over the brick, and we knew we wanted to create somewhat of a modern but a timeless fireplace surround. So we had a stone fabricator add this dolomite stone, but then we framed out the fireplace with more of a traditional wood mantle.
And ironically, that stone that you see right now is actually not the one that we chose. We chose a slab. The slab yard accidentally sold it to somebody else even after we selected it. So we ended up with this one, and we honestly think it was the best mistake that could possibly happen because it just has way more veining, character, and it just gives it more of a statement piece. So we absolutely love it.
One of our favorite parts of the room was the bay window. We love all the light that it lets in, and we like that a bay window is more of a traditional element. And we wanted to accentuate the bay window and make it one of the focal points of the room. So we framed it out with curtains, floor to ceiling. Rather than adding curtains on each individual window, we chose to just frame out the entire space to accentuate it as one thing, and we love how that turned out. We chose a very neutral curtain fabric in here just so that it blended in but still added texture. So the last space we renovated on our first floor was our powder bathroom, and this is where I feel like we really started to experiment with color and texture. We decided to color drench the room in this gray blue that coordinated perfectly with our checkerboard marble floor. The marble floor was the jumping off point for the design for the whole room. We know we wanted to incorporate a fun floor since this is a powder bathroom, and you got a lot more freedom. And then we added some traditional touches. We framed out the vanity with trim. We've got a vintage mirror, and then finished off the space with a complimentary cafe curtain. It's striped, and the color complements the blue wonderfully, and it also just adds that nice charm and character into the space. Renovating our home over the past 4 years has transformed how we live. Each room reflects our philosophy. It needs to be practical, but layered, collected, and have a nice design feel. Working with 2 Pages has allowed us to customize the window treatments to match the personality of every room. Soft neutrals in our family room, coordinated tones in our dining room, subtle pattern in our library, and privacy in our powder bathroom.
And now this once untouched 90s home is complete from top to bottom. It is functional, thoughtful, and after 4 long years, it is finally finished. Thank you so much for touring our home with us.